Well, welcome everybody, and welcome to any new people who've joined us this week. This week we are going to be doing a 15-minute or so practice on cultivating joy and noticing the pleasant sensations in our environment. So because of the way we are hardwired from prehistoric times, we have much more of a tendency to focus on the negative in life in general. We're actually physiologically hardwired for fight, flight, or freeze, much more than we need to be, which means that when something small happens in life, we tend to kind of have the same response as when something big happens quite often. Which means that over time, our kind of stress response is bouncing up too frequently. We don't need to react physiologically in the same way if we burn the toast as if we've bumped our car, for example. But actually in the brain, the same responses get flared up when those two things happen. So one of the beautiful bits of mindfulness, there are so many, is that it can help us to rewire the brain due to something called neuroplasticity. And I'm sure you all know about neuroplasticity, but basically it means that whereas previously they thought that by about mid-20s our brains were fixed and actually deteriorated over time, we now know that we can rewire parts of our brain very, very effectively. And we can even improve parts of our brain as time goes on. So one of the things that mindfulness does is it helps us to particularly doing a practice like this one, but any mindfulness practice, focus intentionally on the present moment, and also focus intentionally in this practice on things which are pleasant in our awareness. And by doing that, we're sort of counteracting this innate tendency that we have, which is nobody's fault, it's just the way we're wired, to always focus on the negative. I'm sure we're all familiar with, when we sit down to practice meditation, the thoughts that we tend to notice tend to be the negative ones. And similarly, in life, we tend to beat ourselves up about things. We tend to just, be hard on ourselves. So this practice is going to invite us to just have an open awareness and just notice some of the more pleasant sensations. It is very common when we look at what's going on to home in on those negative or those unpleasant sensations, like we've talked about before, kind of niggly back or shoulder or knee or whatever it is, some itch or other. And what we're going to ask of ourselves in this practice is to just sort of put those in the background and focus in on some of the more pleasant things. Okay, so we'll give it a go. So this is 15 minutes of cultivating pleasant or joy. And we'll begin, as we always do, by settling in, finding a posture that is comfortable, that we can pretty much stay comfy in for the next 50 minutes or so. It might mean popping something behind your back, adjusting your height. I don't know, do whatever you need to. Sometimes I'm quite small, so I've got one of those seats that goes up and down, but I like to have my feet flat on the floor. Sometimes it might be helpful to have a cushion or something underneath your feet to enable you to have your feet flat on the floor. And allowing your eyes to lightly close if that feels comfortable for you. If not, just a soft gaze on something that's not going to move. And as a way of arriving here right now a little more fully, just taking 3 deep, slow breaths now. Focusing particularly on the out breath, just doing that in your own time. 3 deep, slow breaths. Focusing on that long out breath. Just as a way of settling. And now letting go of any control of the breath and just allowing your breath to settle into its own natural pace or rhythm. And just allowing your awareness to gather as best you can around the breath, the movement of the breath in the whole body. So wherever you notice yourself breathing, just allow your focus to land there. What movement can you notice in your body as you breathe very naturally in and out? Gentle rise and fall, possibly, or a gentle expansion and then falling back as you breathe in and out very naturally. Letting go of the need to control the breathing, but just allowing it to happen as it does automatically all day and all night. And allowing the whole body to be gently rocked by the movement of the breath, by the movement of the body on the in breath and the out breath. Because even when we're sitting still, we're very rarely completely still. When we're breathing, there's a gentle movement of the body, a gentle rocking of the body on the in breath and on each out breath. Just noticing this breath, this one breath in this moment. What do you notice? How do you know you're breathing? And as you continue to follow the breath, just notice any tightening or tension in the body and see if you can relax a little bit more into this movement. Allow your body to soften. And to relax down as you sit here this morning. And now just shifting your attention and beginning to move it away from the breath, although you can always come back to the breath at any point, as you know. But shifting it towards anything pleasant that you can experience in your body right now or in your senses. Just notice if there's anything pleasant. Have a little look around. Anything you're sensing or feeling that possibly feels like a softness somewhere or some warmth somewhere. A soothing sensation possibly as you breathe in and out. Or possibly this lovely sensation of just spending a few moments of self-care on yourself this morning. And really dwelling on and focusing on any pleasant sensation or feeling that you might have. And it might be ever so subtle. And it might move from one part of the body to another part of the body. Or you might just choose to home in on one particular pleasant sensation. It might even appear in the strangest of places, or in an area that you weren't expecting, and that's fine. And every time your mind wanders off and takes you off on a little journey somewhere, just gently and firmly bringing yourself back to some form of a pleasant sensation that you can notice in your awareness. And it might even be something you can hear. It might be some bird song if you're near a window, or it might just be a feeling of warmth behind the eyes, or as you're leaning back against your chair, whatever it is, it can be ever so subtle. This invitation to keep bringing yourself back to something that is pleasurable, something that you notice that's pleasant in your awareness. And by doing that, we're training the brain, rewiring the brain to be able to focus on these small things which can give us joy in life. And it may be that on occasion you don't think there is anything pleasant in your awareness. That's fine. Just see if you can drop deeper into your exploration of what's here in your awareness right now. You can become more attuned to discovering the pleasant with practice. It might be the soft texture of fabric on skin, or muscles gently softening. It's also allowing anything that's pleasant to almost rise and fall, a bit like the breath. So we're not clinging on to anything that we'd like to stay pleasant. That is part of mindfulness practice. Just to allow whatever's there to be there. So it may be that if something pleasant arises and then goes away again, we just have a little look around for something else, the next thing that might be pleasant in our awareness. It may be resting on the same pleasant experience, or it may be each time finding a new one. Remembering that when you notice your mind wandering, it's not a problem. You just have a choice at that point to re-engage with the present moment and to experience something pleasant, or possibly to re-engage with your breathing and your sensations of the breath. Those moments of remembering and noticing that our mind has wandered, they're the moments of mindfulness. They're the moments where we wake up. And bring ourselves back to the present moment. Time and time again. That is the practice. That is mindfulness practice. This is something we can practice throughout the day as well. Sometimes just noticing those very small things that give us pleasure or joy, just as important as noticing the big things. And what if those small things were in fact the big things in life? When we're out and about, we can just notice, I don't know, snowdrops, or noticing the colour of the sky, or even noticing the conversation that we've had that seems pleasant and we really focus on that, or a text that we get that gives us some pleasure. Just noticing those little things and really spending a couple of seconds enjoying that sensation of it being pleasurable. All of that also serves to rewire our brains in the right way. So that eventually when something more minor happens, or even more major happens, we don't have to react in that fight or flight way anymore. Our brains will have learnt to dial down the stress hormones just a little bit more, the more we practice. Bring your focus and your attention onto anything in your awareness that gives you joy or is a pleasant sensation right now. It might just be the next breath, it might just be the next in-breath and the next out-breath. That lovely feeling of gravity as we sit here, drawing us down. And this feeling of spending a few moments on ourselves. Really valuable time. Which benefits you, but also benefits everybody around you. And now just for those last few breaths, we'll just notice with every breath we take, something once again that we're grateful for. Just noticing one thing or several things that you're grateful for, acknowledging those right now. Could also be something very small. And becoming aware once again of the sensation of your whole body as best you can, sitting here, wherever you're sitting. Becoming aware of the edges of your body. Possibly still noticing the in-breath and the out-breath as you focus on the edges of your body. Getting a sensation of the whole of you sitting here. Now expanding your awareness out to the room that you're sitting in. When you're ready, introducing a little bit of movement into your hands and feet. Bit of movement into the rest of the body if that feels good. And if you've had your eyes closed, you can open your eyes now. a stretch like I always do at the end. So that was just a slightly longer than 15-minute practice of becoming aware of the pleasant, cultivating joy. And as I mentioned, just if the more we can notice little things, it's easier in spring because we suddenly notice a crocus or something or a bird singing, and just see if you can just linger noticing those little things just for a few seconds longer than you perhaps normally would. Just really look at the flower or listen to the bird song, whatever it is, and that is all cultivating this. The neurological pathways are being strengthened in a good way. Lovely to see you all, as always, and thank you very much for your time, and well done. You've just done a fantastic chunk of mindfulness there, set you up for the day, and I'll see you the same time next week.